So Pelosi is angry that Bo Biden said illegal instead of undocumented. Out in St. Louis, the man is getting scolded, reprimanded for saying colored homeowners instead of homeowners of color. What is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. Seems like something is happening with the airplanes. In Houston, a 737 caught fire before takeoff and skid into the bushes. In San Francisco, a tire or a wheel fell off a plane taking off bound for Japan. In Miami, two planes collided on the tarmac, and this all comes only a couple weeks after a door came off a plane mid-flight. And I don't know, was this kind of thing always happening and it just didn't make the news? Then the Washington Compost says, look at all the good the IRS is doing with its cash. Completely weird flex. I've never heard anybody celebrate the IRS, but here we have the Compost, I guess, applauding all the amazing work they're doing to help usher in communism. Then TikTok famous food critic and I guess former MMA fighter who bashed the Bay Area and cut the trip short, but he went to Arizona and everything turned out okay. Also, the State of the Union was a couple days ago, and there's a bunch of nonsense surrounding that. But I heard, and I didn't take any notes, but a couple times, I think Bo Biden said something along the lines of gun prevention agencies or something, and I'm like, you mean the cops, bro? Sticking with the State of the Union and all of the weirdo speech policing that the left does, I'm sure we all saw this, but it's worth rewatching. Nancy Pelosi is mad that Bo Biden said an illegal immigrant, brutally murdered that woman.
Now, you should have said undocumented, but it's not a big thing, okay? What's the big thing about it?
No, I actually wasn't even going to ask about that. I was just going to ask more about the moment. But you do think that he should have said undocumented? That wasn't going to be my question.
Well, we usually say undocumented.
I mean, this is absolutely insane. How crass do you have to be to make sure that the person who allegedly murdered a 22-year-old woman in Georgia is called the proper name? They're doing the same thing, making sure that the illegals get the proper pronouns because, of course, if they make it to California, Gavin Newsom will allow them to get free sex changes, get their dicks and tits cut off, and turned into real live Americans. In more insane speech policing, now this obviously isn't quite as dramatic as Nancy Pelosi making sure that you call a criminal illegal murderer by the proper name, but in St. Louis, a news station anchor apologized after describing minority homeowners as colored, and they are mad because this man said colored homeowners instead of homeowners of color. You can't make it up. And this is a clear-cut example of the establishment, lefties trying to get control of every single word you use, because if you control words, you control minds.
The pre-censorship that goes on, the subtler ways that the left controls our politics and our culture by controlling our thoughts, which they do by controlling our words.
In the Bay Area now, and this is absolute madness, this man wants you to believe, or somebody wrote on the script for him to tell you, that insurance companies are leaving California because of climate change. Right now, I think we're all old enough to remember a time when it was called global warming. It was affecting everybody, but then it was affecting communities of color, and now it's affecting California, and insurance companies are fleeing because of climate change. It couldn't have anything to do with the out-of-control crime and all the businesses fleeing. North Face now, Zara, I mean, the list never ends, but they want you to know that insurance companies are leaving because of climate change.
Thanks to our changing climate and wildfires, many insurance carriers are either leaving California or no longer writing new policies.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely because of climate change. Really? Is that, even if the insurance companies claimed it's because of climate change, it's not. It's because they're probably just hemorrhaging cash by trying to, insurance is a scam, but that's a different story. But they're trying to pay out all of these people. They can't even tell, sorry, I'm getting turned up here, but they can't even tell the real crimes versus the fraud, right? I mean, 911 doesn't even work. So you could basically commit insurance fraud without ever even calling 911 and just telling them that 911 doesn't work. But they want you to know that the insurance companies are leaving California specifically because the climate in California, which, while it is very nice, I'm sure the climate crisis is affecting everybody, right?
The kicker, insurance companies are still making money. So how does that work?
More commie propaganda, right? So they're leaving because of climate change, even though they're still making a bunch of money. And they will come at this from every angle. You can see Tish James, oh, well, your property is not worth that much. Bo Jiden in the State of the Union, oh, we're going to put a cap on this, we're going to put a cap on that. And it all sounds well and good, but all they're doing is telling you exactly how much things are worth and what they're planning to give you. But I digress again.
What lies ahead for us consumers?
There are parts of the country, parts of the world where the insurance industry can still make profit.
Yeah, because they're not dystopian hellscapes with criminals and illegals running rampant. That's why.
States, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Vermont, Ohio, where they're able to turn profits. However, there are other states like California, Florida, Texas, Colorado, where they're losing money to staggering numbers, and that's why you're seeing them pull back in the areas where they're not able to make a profit.
Yeah, why aren't they able to make a profit, bro? And I can't believe I'm actually defending the insurance agency here, because it is largely a scam, right? You pay this bill every month, and then when you have to make a claim, they say, no, we're not going to cover that. But all that aside, these people still want you to believe that the reason they're leaving California is because of the sun monster. Still in California here, and I have become obsessed with following the social media accounts of the Oakland Police Department. It's all propaganda nonsense. 911 doesn't work. They skipped hundreds of applications for dispatchers. Then they post that they're hiring, but they're looking for diversity and inclusion. And they post these things every couple days, the same images, the same posts every few days, just to really drill it home. And on top of all that, they were also investigating claims of racism on social media from 12 years ago by a woman who wasn't even a cop at the time. Meanwhile, you got the Federal Monitor claiming that, of course, no matter how bad the crime gets, it's always the fault of the police. But that aside, they post this: if you see something, say something. Report suspicious activity to the police. Okay, fine. But also, know when to call 911. So you can't do it all the time. So they're literally telling you, oh, if you see something, say something. But also, we're probably not going to answer. And we ignored hundreds of applications for dispatchers, but whatever. This is a rock and a hard place. And when they eventually hire a replacement chief of police, we can almost guarantee it's going to be a fat LGBTQ advocate that's not going to do anything. In fact, let me take that back. We'll do a lot to only make things worse. So, if you can't tell by now, this is all being done on purpose, and it's so brazen and in your face. It's like a prank show. It's like Impractical Jokers. Oh, if you see something, say something, but also don't call 911 unless somebody has a gun to your head, in which case we're not gonna make it there anyways. Here is scumbag greaseball bang your wife Governor Gavin Newsom talking about the dark forces that are trying to recall him for a second time and roll back the progress of California.
Well, I take it seriously, and it's the same dark forces.
This guy is just so smug. He's laughing and giggling. He knows that he is the machine, and it's going to be very difficult to take him down.
That went after me last time, went after the state, went after the values of the state.
What are the values of the state, Gavin? Homelessness, crime, poverty? What are you talking about?
Same folks that want to roll back most of the progress the last half century. Voting rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights.
Voting rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights. Yeah, that's what the people trying to recall you want to get rid of. Oh, okay. Maybe they do want to get rid of that, but it's only because you use that as a guise, as a shield from everything. You've completely lost the plot.
Women's rights. I mean, look at the folks behind this. So this is unsurprising in that respect, but you got to take it seriously because we have one of the lowest thresholds in America to get these things on the ballot. They've got all the old lists, and it doesn't take much in resources to put this back on, and then the taxpayers are going to be out hundreds of millions of dollars. So,
the taxpayers. While you're spending millions of dollars to pass Proposition 1, which would give you control of billions of dollars to fix the problems you claimed you were going to fix almost 2 decades ago.
We're organizing very deliberately, and I don't take this lightly.
Oh, this guy is so insufferable. And I don't know. If you are believing what he's telling you at this point in time, then there's no coming back. But we do agree that there are dark forces at play. But quite clearly, it is you, Gavin. A little more from the California criminal justice system. So they are saying that San Quentin Rehab Center grads are seeing successful job placement. So they don't really care about the taxpayers, the electricity prices going up, the gas prices through the roof, inflation, just crime. San Francisco did shift to the right. So they're going to, they claim they're going to enforce the law now and make people take drug tests before they give out welfare. But that's a little bit of a different story. So they have taken so much care of these prisoners. They're letting men into the ladies' prisons. They're giving them schools, and they're coming out. So the convicts are coming out of jail after learning to code and successfully finding jobs. Now, not in California, but just proof that the whole, criminal justice reform is totally working. Sheldon Johnson, Joe Rogan podcast guest, arrested after body parts found in freezer. That was in the Bronx. So we know now that it's always the cops' fault, right? So they have to, the court system, I guess, I don't know, the city, the state, whatever, pays out protesters. They're investigating claims of racism from a dozen years ago. They're hiring DEI cops. They're ignoring applications. It's all a complete mess under the guidance of a federal monitor. But apparently police conduct is through the roof, and the National Guard is in the subway station, and it's just too much. But for whatever reason, they treat these criminals like saints on purpose, I guess, to be kind. That's what they're telling us, but I think they prefer the chaos that ensues. But either way, the criminal justice reform, learn to code classes in prison, it's all working so well that, you also have, side note here, you also have a cop, I believe it was New York, I don't know, fact check me on that, I don't have it pulled up here, but there was a cop who was caught stealing sneakers, so it's all a complete mess. But that aside, this person, we're not talking about jaywalking, we're not talking about smoking a joint on parole, we're talking about chopping up another person and putting them in the freezer after going on Joe Rogan and saying that he spent way too much time in prison. It's absolutely ridiculous. And what about all the cops that you have demoralized? What about all the cops that have been punished? What about Daniel Penny? He stands up to a crazy Michael Jackson impersonator in the subway, but now they throw the book at him because you should have just let that guy slash and scream at everybody and it wouldn't have been news. But now that you stopped that guy and unfortunately he passed, it is totally news and that guy is in the wrong. I guess that's a little bit of a different story. But my point is, if you try to take a stand against criminals, you will become the criminal. If you are a criminal, they will send you to class in prison. They will let you out just so you can commit crimes again. Does anybody think that Daniel Penny is going to get out of jail? They're going to let him off. Maybe Trump will save him and he's going to come out and he's going to start being a raging murderer. Maybe he might on some like Joker type of stuff because they've thrown the book at him for basically no reason. Sticking with the theme of the criminal justice system, I suppose, and back with the Washington Compost, they say, no, Oregon's drug decriminalization law was not a failure, even though it absolutely was. So he's just blatantly lying to you. Back in 2020, Oregon decided to decriminalize all drugs, I guess because of fentanyl Floyd for some reason. They just assumed that all black people were on drugs, so they had to decriminalize that, even though I'd be willing to bet that most of the dope fiends in Oregon are white. But different story. They say, it wasn't a failure, even though, and credit to the politicians in Oregon, because we know by now that they are rarely, if ever, willing to take their foot off the gas and admit something they didn't work. They actually did in this case and say, okay, we're going to recriminalize drugs because people are dropping like flies in the street. But their Washington Compost is here to save them and say, oh no, it wasn't a failure. We just reversed it because Orange Man bad. this one's crazy, but I guess totally predictable. J.K. Rowling, who is non-threatening to say the very least, has been a target of the Transformer mob for several years now. But apparently, a broadcaster says she reported J.K. Rowling to the police over alleged Transformer phobia, right? So they want nothing more than to have control of your speech. I mean, they're going to have control of your speech, but they want to have control of your thoughts, right? So if the LGBT, BBQ, CIA mob or whatever had their way, they would be able to jail these people simply for thinking that a man cannot be a woman. But if you say that, then we're going to call the cops on you. And of course, as we know, you control words, you control minds, then you control their actions. You can put them all in jail, right? Even Whoopi Goldberg says, oh, well, Bo Biden could really put all of the Republicans in jail. I mean, this is just insane. Real CW2 stuff. A non-threatening woman, author of Harry Potter, is the target of the mob because she is not on board with the radical gender agenda. And of course, we could have seen this coming for several years now. They've been back and forth on Twitter. I don't know, this Variety website is crazy with ads. It's absolutely disgusting. But the point here is they're well on the road to putting people in jail who disagree with them. And we see it started with Trump, and a wise man once said, they're not coming for me, they're coming after you. I'm in their way. And she's not even American, but it doesn't matter because Americans love Harry Potter. And here, I guess, this is the final boss of the Transanity bullies, who is very angry about some anti-LGBTQ legislation that's coming down the pipe in Ghana. So when you want to live in reality, this is the person you're going to have to stand up to. This weirdo. Let's pull this up a little bit so we can see the cleavage. I mean, this person wants you to believe their words. It's absolutely insane. And if you don't believe it, we're going to call the cops on you.
Okay, let's get into the details of this anti-LGBTQ plus bill that has passed through Parliament in Ghana. Who does the bill target? The bill targets lesbians, gay men, bisexual people, trans people, pansexual people, allies, and persons who provide...
Allies. Allies is just code word for somebody who's straight but capitulates to every word the mob says.
Will participate in the provision of gender reaffirming surgery. Also,
gender reaffirming surgery. So that's a new one. It was gender affirming surgery. I mean, as dark as both of them are, I mean, Democrat, dystopian, doublespeak to the max. But this carbon-based life form is saying gender reaffirmation surgery, which leads me to believe this person knows that they're chopping up. There was also, I'm getting off track once again here, but there was also a leaked email by some doctors in the UK, I believe, or WPATH. I don't know. I haven't looked too deeply into it yet, and I don't have it pulled up. But some leaked emails say that, oh yeah, the trans surgery is not really good for people, and it's like, oh wait, did we needed a doctor to tell us that cutting your junk off or turning it inside out wasn't good for you? Is that where we've come? Right? So in the past 10 years, we've gone from, okay, drag queens are cool and Asia SF, even though that bar closed. I digress. It was like, all right, okay, this weird 6'4" guy thinks he's a woman, but he's not forcing you to think he's a woman. Then it was, of course you think he's a woman. Then it was, if you don't think he's a woman, we're going to call the cops on you. Then it was, actually, these surgeries aren't good for anybody, and we had to wait for a doctor to tell it, because you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. So you can't make those conclusions, right? Same thing with Rona. You're not a doctor. Why don't you put your mask back on and shut up? And then, a couple years later, oh yeah, social distancing was arbitrary. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of heart problems, but, we're baffled by that. But on the plus side, we do know why humans lost their tail in evolution. It's absolutely insane. I've gotten completely off track as per usual, but let's continue with this final boss. And there's another one from this person.
anyone who engages in sexual activity under this act. So let's get this gay for a minute. What do people get for being any of the above? Well, you can get 2 months to 3 years in prison simply for being LGBTQ+, or...
Yeah, okay, whatever, that's enough of this one. But basically, what it seems like they're doing in Ghana, to me, is getting well out ahead of this, because they can look, over in America or Canada or the UK and say, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to go extreme right off the bat because you people are absolutely insane. Here's another one from that same carbon-based life form, and this was actually just posted, so within like 2 days of each other, these two reels have shown up on Instagram, and I actually haven't seen this one yet, so let's see what this carbon-based life form is on about now.
Fellow Ghanaians and allies, thank you so much for showing up and showing out at the Ghana High Commission on March 6th. Demonstrations like this are important to let people know that we will not stand by and let our community be ostracized, victimized, or scapegoated any longer.
Bro, there's just no way. You guys came up with this like 10 or 15 years ago with the advent of Twitter. Now you want everybody to believe it, and anybody who doesn't is a bigot, right-wing, and the government. Look, I don't know anything about politics in Ghana, but I would imagine it'd have to be like, we are not going to let these radicals take over like they did in the United States.
It is important that while this has happened, we do not ease up. We need to keep spreading our message and keep fighting for change.
Yeah, keep fighting for change. And here, just to make it clear, this carbon-based life form really wants you to know that they, them, Zim, Zer has been working out. I don't know, they didn't get their hormones yet, if those are muscles. But the point here is, the government in Ghana,
Ghanaian government is convinced that LGBTQ+ rights and LGBTQ+ people are an import. And that is categorical.
Yeah, it probably is. What I told you, I didn't watch this. I hadn't seen this one, but it came only a day after the other one. And it's pretty easy to tell that the government of Ghana is getting out in front of it. And this person says, they think LGBTQ+ people are an import. And they probably are. You can go back to the clip from a couple years ago, Matt Walsh in some village tribe in Africa, and he's saying, can a man be a woman or non-binary? And they're like, and they're laughing. And of course they're saying no, flies all around.
What if a man decides that his gender identity is woman?
A woman has its own duty, and a man has its own duty, and a lady cannot do the duty of a man, and a man cannot do a duty of a woman.
Can a man become a woman?
No.
No?
No.
What about a transgender? Transgender?
No.
No?
It look like if you want to become a lady but you're a man, you have something wrong in your mind. Something wrong in your family, something wrong in you.
What about if someone was non-binary?
Come again?
Non-binary? Do you know, like someone is
you're not a woman, you're not a man.
Yeah, someone is neither. There's something else. Is that?
He's saying we have never seen things like those. For a man, he has a penis. For a woman, he has a vagina. So we know this is a lady, this is a man.
What if it's a woman with a penis?
Both.
Is that? People are laughing. Is that a dumb question?
So for the government in Ghana to believe that this ideology is imported is 100% correct, and they're trying to put the kibosh on it early. Because who in their right mind would want to deal with this? Now, obviously, people who are not in their right mind think this is okay. And where are this person's eyebrows? But whatever. Obviously, the government is like, nah, you're not going to get over on us like that.
False. This hateful rhetoric, these deflection tactics, this disregard for human life is an import. And not only
every single time disregard for it is always life and death. So no matter how bad the crime gets, if the police are too forceful, it's life and death. If you don't let this person cut his junk off or turn it inside out or whatever, it's life and death. If you don't wear a mask, it's life and death. If you drive a truck, it's life and death, even though there's another story about how the electric vehicles are more harmful to the environment than the gas guzzlers, but it doesn't matter because every single one of their talking points boils down to life and death until an illegal alien kills a woman in Georgia. Then it's not life and death. In a little bit more trans sanity, this is an International Women's Day post from Planned Parenthood, and you can see me in the comments there. The bar has gotten so low, you kind of have to appreciate at least the attempt to remain consistent. So they made a whole stink, a big scene about how they didn't even know what a woman was. You had to be a biologist to figure that out.
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
But when it comes time to celebrate International Women's Day and International Women's Month, we have to throw some men in there to at least give you the appearance of remaining consistent. And they also want you to believe that men can get pregnant only to abort the kids as well. But that's a different story. And look at this. So they've clearly added men into this graphic to let you know that we're not fully hypocritical, right? So on every single other point we are, and we expect you to jump through the hoops. It's real whack-a-mole out there. But on this issue, we are going to stand firm in order to make you not believe your lying eyes, I suppose. But it's still totally hypocritical because we remember, if you don't have a uterus, then you don't get a say unless you side with us. Look, it's nuts, fam. The truth is mattered in fiction, as they say. So Pelosi is angry that Bo Biden said illegal instead of undocumented. Out in St. Louis, the man is getting scolded, reprimanded for saying colored homeowners instead of homeowners of color when he could have just said a couple of black people that own a house, whatever. OPD is flying off the handle telling you two completely opposite things at the same time. It's a weird gotcha impractical jokers moment. There's got to be a hidden camera somewhere, but they want you to know if you see something, say something. But also 911 doesn't work because we missed hundreds of applications for dispatchers. It's completely crazy. In San Quentin, learn to code is working like a charm. Criminal justice reform. But in New York, a guy goes on Joe Rogan and says, I spent way too much time in jail, and then gets out and not just commits a heinous act, but literally chops a body up and puts it in his freezer. And if you question any of this, you, of course, will become the enemy. All that said, here's a funny clip.
Official resume of Mac and Charlie. So both of you are... Well, gentlemen, I've never seen two people share a resume before.
Well, we thought we'd save paper. You know, go green.
Work experience. Patty's Pub Management. And duties that include ordering supplies and taking care of business.
TCOB.
Business coordinator for several years. I don't know who this is.
Coordinator.
Okay. For several years, I've been in complete charge of pretty much everything in my life.
I don't miss
That
a
would
beat.
actually be him.
You know, not pretty much everything. There's certain things that you just can't have control of, sir. But I think you'll find that what we lack in formal education, we more than make up for in street smarts. Okay, so we can wheel, we can deal, we can oversee hostile takeovers, whatever you need, bud.
It's a mailroom gig. And there's only one spot available.
Ooh, kind of a package deal.
We sort of work as a team. I tell you what if we split the pay right down the middle?
You'd be willing to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this has nothing to do with money.
This is sort of a health insurance
Yeah.
situation for
Yeah.
us. So, you know, frankly, you don't even really have to pay us at all.
No.
Well, legally I have to pay you something, but minimum wage maybe?
Minimum wage?
Are you kidding me?
That's great. That's more than we
That's a
expected.
government salary
All
right
right.
there. Yeah.
Well, you drive a hard bargain. The job is both of yours. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Bro.
Minimum wage. Minimum wage.